Welcome everybody to my Vikings season 4B episode 19 review slash recap. Recap. um, the episode was entitled "On the Eve." So essentially, there's three main storylines happening in this episode. So I'm gonna start off with Kattegat because that's the easiest one, to get over and done with. So pretty much we have, I believe his name is Egil the Bastard, and his men enter Kattegat, trying to invade it. So if we remember from about an episode or two ago, Eggleston the Bastard, pretty much, he's the bastard son of one of the earls in Scandinavia, and he makes a deal with King Finehair and his brother to take out Lagda so King Finehair can assume the throne of Kattegat, therefore become the king of all Norway, all that stuff. So we have a so we now just a little bit of a reminder on the character of Egil the Bastard. So let's get into it. So Egil and his little motley crew is doing quite a number on Lagda and her, and her people, so far in that little fight that I believe lasted at least between 5 to 10 minutes. Lagda essentially wins the battle by finding a spot all the way towards the back of the town that allowed her to get an advantage on Egil and his men and set some of his men on fire. So the one thing I didn't get about this is why did Egil, even though he saw his men get set on fire and shit, the rest of his men just scattered. They left. They bounced. They left to fight another day. But Egil, no. Egil's like, no, I'm gonna go. Fuck this. I'm gonna go over the fucking fire like a jackass, you know. And he tries to do this. I'm saying to myself like, why are you doing this? And one of Lagda's people just throws a spear straight through Egil's fucking shoulder, and he's on the ground. He's still fighting. I give him credit for that. And Lagda, like a boss, like showing her dominance literally by putting her foot all over his face, and even sort of rubbing into the wound where the spear pierced, well, actually went through Egil's shoulder. And she tells the people, well, her people, whatever, that let's keep him alive. A few things I should mention before I go further is the fact that Astrid has improved a lot, especially during this whole fighting part of the episode with the attempted Kattegat invasion by Egil. She improved a lot drastically. She clearly knows how to fight now. She's definitely gotten better. And Torvi apparently, Torvi did pretty well too, actually. She was headbutting, she was, shooting her arrow, taking names, but apparently it seems as though Torvi is dead from the last scene we saw of her. But I don't think she's dead. I think she's alive. Because I believe she was blanking, you know, right before the scene cut away, into commercial. But anyways, back to the whole Lagda situation. So Lagda essentially has Egil on a roaster. She's roasting this motherfucker, literally and figuratively. She's roasting him, have him over the hot iron and shit, the hot coals, and she wants to know who put you up to this. Egil ain't budging though. He's like, it doesn't matter because if I tell you, I'm gonna die either way. You know what I mean, so essentially, fuck you. And then Lagda, she keeps on torturing the guy to the point she's like, I believe she brings in a woman who claimed to be Egil's wife. Egil's like, I don't know who this woman is. Lagda does something to Egil that I don't remember. So this kind of convinces Egil to be like, you know what? I do this for you, talking to the woman. He pretty much admits that King Finehair is the one that had him do this in the first place. So once that's said, Lagda has a look on her face like, I mean, it's it wasn't like she was. It's like she was generally. It seemed like Lagda she was generally surprised about the Finehairs being, complicit in this. I'm surprised that she would be that surprised in regards to her facial expression. You would think she would know about the Finehairs' ambition. You know what I mean? King Finehair hasn't been quiet about it. Everyone knows it. Bien knows it. The brothers know it. Why does it like that? Why is she surprised? But I digress. So the next storyline we're gonna talk about Wessex. So I enjoy this very much. We pretty much have Egbert and Aethelwulf, and you could say to a certain extent Judith, talking about her father's death, although it was brief. We find out, I mean, they talk about how the Vikings are on their way, and I believe Egbert's trying to suggest to Aethelwulf to be a little bit more stealthy, to sort of think outside the box more, and to have, the element of surprise. But Aethelwulf's like, no, I'm not hearing this, father. You left me in charge, so let me do it my way. And Egbert's like, okay, okay, cool, all right. So we have Athelstan's son, Alfred, jump up, say, you know what, I want to fight, father. And then we have the other boy, which is Aethelwulf's actual biological son and Egbert's grandson, whose name I believe is Ethelred. Yes, Ethelred stand up and say the same thing. It seems as though Alfred's a little bit older. Then again, I don't think that's the case. I think Ethelred's older because I think he was like around a year or 2 years old or something. No, he hadn't been a year because he'd been around for at least around 9 months or so when the Vikings returned back to Wessex in the beginning of season 3, and the time frame from the season finale of episode 2 of Vikings to season 3 episode 1 was about a year because that thing came back with them and it was a year later or so whatever. But yeah, so yeah, they both said they want to fight. Ethelwulf's impressed, but he's like, you guys are the future, now's not the time to fight, whatever. So he has them sort of escort them out. Ethelwulf mentions the fact that that it's going to take a while for him to summon the amount of men necessary to combat Ragnar's sons, Bjorn and company, in battle. But Egbert once again saying, you have to be quicker, there's a way, but Ethelwulf's still not listening. So he leaves off. So finally, we have Egbert telling Judith, you know what? You and my son should literally just apologize to each other. Like, this is kind of ridiculous. He needs your strength. He needs your brilliance of mind. Stop loving me. Stop treating him like shit. He's your husband. Go to him. And she's like, well, what if I don't want to? And then Egbert's like, well, I command you to. And I'm like, well, it's about time, Egbert. You finally told Judith what you should have told her years ago. That's your husband. For God's sake, go back to him. He hasn't done anything wrong to you, besides that one little thing, when he tried to kill you and he maimed you by killing your one arrow. But hey, you cheated on him. And at those times, that was some serious shit. But besides that, Ethelwulf's been a pretty good guy. Anyways, the next scene, we have a touch scene between Ethelwulf and Alfred. And Ethelwulf pretty much gives Alfred's father, Athelstan, a lot of props, saying that he was a holy man. He changed our lives forever. He was also a very great man, a very good guy. You should be lucky to be his son, and that he's watching over you, so don't be afraid. And Alfred's like, hey, I'm not afraid, and I'm happy to hear all these good things about my father. I'm also happy, the fact that about you being my father. You've been a father to me since I was born, so I appreciate that. So it shows that there's definitely a genuine father-son bond between Alfred and Ethelwulf. Then again, it was kind of shown they had that bond early in season 4A when Ethelwulf pretty much was with Alfred when he was about 4 or 5 when they did that pilgrimage to Rome. Then again, this episode really just reinforces the bond that they have. And unbeknownst to them, Judith was right there. Just listening in. And it seemed as though she was crying. So when she was crying, I'm wondering, is she crying because they're a monster of Athelstan? Or is she kind of breaking down crying because she realized, in a way, that she was wrong in her treatment of Aethelwulf? I don't know. Maybe we'll get the answer next episode. So, yeah. Finally, we have Aethelwulf The next day, he's leading off. He's going with his men from Wessex to try to meet with the men over in Mercia, I believe in Repton, Mercia. And Egbert pretty much says the speech, which I believe Athelson said when he around season 2, episode 3, when he pretty much gave the priest a mercy kill, saying this, for every season is a time to harvest, a plant, a time to kill, all that crap. It was a very long speech, but a very good one. So pretty much Egbert echoed that, but he had his own flavor to it, saying to the wolf that this is a time of war. This is the time to hate. Like one last pump up speech for his son, like saying, what, this may seem like overwhelming odds, but you can do it. I have faith in you. So this gives Aethelwulf a little bit of a kick up, and he leads off with his Wessex boys, and as I mentioned before, heading towards Mercia, to meet up with the other armies. So he heads to Mercia. They shout out Lord Ethelwulf. They give him all that steam and shit, and they tell Aethelwulf that there's about 3,000 to 4,000 men. It's not any raided pillage type of deal. It's the largest force they ever seen, especially the largest heathen force they ever seen. And Aethelwulf says, "I told my father that the sons of Ragnar would seek revenge." And he asked him, "Do you think they're headed towards Wessex?" And one of the soldiers was like, "Yes." And Aethelwulf's like, "Okay, well, let's meet them at the pass." So that leads us to the final thing, which involves the Vikings, whatever. So we see the people from the countryside. They're scared as shit. They're taking all their shit, all the goods, all the bread, all the cakes, all the dogs, all the cattle, all that stuff. Anything of value with them, as they're literally trying to run for some fucking shelter, because these damn Vikings are on their boats and they are coming straight towards them. You see the look of determination on all the boys' faces, but especially Bjorn's. It looks could kill. So we have this interesting argument that happens between the brothers, but more specifically with Bjorn and Ivar. Ivar says that all he sees is little like these Christian folk run away like cowards. You know what I mean? That their spineless god is afraid of their gods. And Bjorn's like, "Listen, you don't know what you're talking about, Ivar. You're still young. These people are brave. They're not cowards. You know, they're respectable people and warriors, whatever." And Ivar's like, "Well, listen, I can only see what my eyes show me, and what I see is cowards." And Uba is like kind of looking at both of them, and he's trying to be like the peacemaker. He's kind of like, "Listen, for once, Ivar, listen to our older, wiser brother. All right." And Ivar isn't having it. You know what I mean? I think this is one thing which is clear. Bjorn is obviously, he's very smart. He's been through war or whatever. But at some point, I'm curious to see where this is gonna lie, because it's kind of like, I see a lot of people compare this relationship to like a Ragnar Rollo type deal, except it's kind of a reversal. It's kind of like Rollo being in charge instead of Ragnar, and I could see that. But in a way, I could kind of see this being like a King Horik Ragnar situation. You got two alphas, and one has to go at some point, or one has to bend. You know what I'm saying? And at some point, like even continuing the conversation, Bjorn is kind of mocking Ivar, because Ivar believes he's the successor of Ragnar. And Bjorn is like, "Whatever you say." And then Ivar's like, "I'm sure it hurts you to know that the true heir of Ragnar Lothbrok is a cripple and a reject." And when he said that, Bjorn was not fucking around anymore. It's like he stopped on the dime. That 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 made a mark on Bjorn. He actually stopped right there. And then him and Ivar had a stare off, and Floki was like, "So this is what it means when all the little piggies will grunt when the old boar suffers." Pretty much saying that all this is just stupid arguments between the brothers. You got Ube and Ivar on one side. You got Bjorn and Viksorg on one side. And then you got Sigurd, like usual, just aimless. Like he's by himself. So the next scene after this, Helga's and Floki's adopted daughter, she leaves. Helga's throwing a fit. Floki's like, "Well, you know what? Maybe it's good that she left." Helga throws yet another fit, saying, "No, go find her, go find her." So Floki has to go find this find this girl, and he finds her pretty much hiding behind some rocks close to the riverbank. And he tells her, listen, essentially, you know what? You hate us. I know you do. But what can I do? My wife wants you, so I got to bring it back. So it seems as though when it comes to Floki and her, they're pretty cool. But when Helga sees the child, the girl immediately looks at Floki like, who do I have to be this crazy broad? And it makes you wonder, is something going to happen between Helga and that kid? Because I feel as though Helga might die. She might die. I don't know how. I feel as though she might die. I feel as though this little girl might have something to do with it. Then again, I could be wrong. Who knows? Like, there's so many fucking possibilities. Anyways, in regards to that, we have the scene in which I believe Bjorn, Ivar, and them, they're traveling, and one of the Viking men pretty much tells Bjorn, because he went ahead. He tells Bjorn that Ethelwood, what the hell? I mean, Ethelwolf and his men are like a day's ride away from being where they're at. So, well, the battlefield. And Bjorn's like, okay, so let's make camp. But Ivar's like, nah, I ain't doing that. And the brothers like said, okay, what is it, Ivar? And Ivar's like, listen, they expect us to fight a certain way, just like them. So what sense does it make to fight just like them if we could change up the battle tactics? Do something they wouldn't expect. you know? And then it's like with the brother, it's starting to dawn on all of them. Especially like Bjorn. But Victor, I don't know, in terms of about warm up to the idea, I think it was kind of more like Bjorn, Victor, then Uba, and once again Sigurd is the last to get anything. What the fuck? Anyways, when it comes to like going further into that conversation, Victor's like, well, you know what? Essentially, he's like, you know what? Our soldiers are used to the shield wall and training the shield wall. So if we would try to do something like that, it'll probably like turn everything upside down and fuck everything up. But I was like, listen, Sigurd, we have a much bigger army than usual. So since we have a much bigger army and much more manpower, it makes more sense for us to adapt and change our fighting tactics and style. And Sigurd's pretty much behind Victor saying, you know what? That won't work, so we can't change up. And then I was like, who's talking to you? Shut up. you know? And Bjorn's like just looking at Ivar. Like he wants to listen to Ivar, but he still sees Ivar as a child because let's be honest, like Bjorn said in the previous episode, what battles has he won? What battles has he lost? And sure, they won a battle against Ayla, but that was kind of a massacre. And Ivar's trying to calm himself down because he knows, as you get older, you're going to have to find some ways to speak to certain people. Just can't be an arrogant prick, even when you're right, which is probably right like 95% of the time. So he says, listen, man, come with me to the battlefield so we can observe it and try to find some places in which we can use to our advantage. And then Bjorn thinks about it. He's like, you know what? That's a good plan. And if it doesn't work, it's a bad plan. And the way he says it, especially with the mannerisms, whatever. Especially observing the guy that's playing Ivar and the guy that's playing Bjorn. Ivar is like an evil genius version of Ragnar. Bjorn is just like Ragnar when he's like in raid mode, leader mode, all that stuff. It's like different personalities of Ragnar, like going tit for tat against each other. And it's like really incredible. So Ivar and Bjorn go search, pretty much go over the battlefield to look over which places they could take advantage of. So the next day, we see pretty much Ivar, Bjorn and company, and Aethelwolf pretty much see each other on the battlefield. But is that what you expect? Ivar is literally using his battle tactics to mess with Aethelwolf's mind. He's making a jackrabbit out of him. At one moment, Aethelwolf's army thinks they got Ivar and they're trying to get at Ivar, but Ivar's army walks away. Then another part of the army runs towards Aethelwolf and then they turn another way. It's like, oh, you got us? No, don't got it. Oh, we've got you? No. And And then the army, Aethel's army, was like, okay, where are they? Where the heck are they? And then they turn one way, and then you got Bjorn and company going through the woods, whatever, shooting arrows at one side of the army. And then they stop. And then Aethel tries to go in that direction. They're not there. Then they turn around. Ivar's army's on top of the hill. So it was like different spots Ivar's covering, you know, in a maneuverable way that's really it's really genius the way Ivar constructed his plan. And he even knew exactly what Aethelwulf would do. He knew Aethelwulf at the end of the thing would get frustrated and assume, you know, that and would go straight towards the boats over that they have over at Reptus. So that's where Aethelwulf, he knew that's where Aethelwulf would go. And Floki even said, he was like, you were right. You were right. You evil mad genius. You know? And while Aethelwulf's heading in that direction with his army, there is Bien, Vixer, Uba, Sigurd, and King Fahnir got his brother waiting right there. Right there. For Aethelwulf. And the battle's about to begin, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, finally. No more like strategic buffoonery, you know, no more like we're gonna get one little snippet and then we're just gonna not have any fights. We're gonna get a full fight this episode. I mean this upcoming episode, you guys. And one thing I should say before I go in regards to King Fahnir and Princess Elizabeth. King Fahnir speaks with his brother, and his brother says so straight up. Listen, I don't know why. You know, you fell for her crap about saying that she would stay, you know, she would be unmarried. She'll wait for you. That was stupid, okay? Women are fickle, you know? And, you know, I think King Fahnir said, I can't believe she married a nobody. And Hafton's like, well, she loves him, so apparently he is a somebody. And Fahnir's like, when did you become so insightful, brother? and Hafton literally says, if you haven't noticed, brother, I am not married, such as you. Because I don't understand women. Women are fickle. So, pretty much, get over it. And yet, that does not happen. King Fahnir pretty much makes this whole little scene saying that how he forgives Princess Alyssa for saying that she would marry him if he accomplished all this stuff, and then pretty much BSing him at the end. Then her husband comes and says, you know what? I didn't know about this marriage arrangement, but, you know, it seems it's all good between you and my wife, so let's be friends. And it seems though they're going to shake hands. King Fahnir hits the brother right in the... kills him dead with an axe straight to his face. Vicious. And then walks off like it was nothing. And then I think before Fahnir and them go off to war or whatever, Princess Alyssa was like, oh, I want you, Fahnir. I want you. So they're, you know, and they're about to get on. She's on top of him, and she pulls out a knife from the back of her little dress, about to stab Fahnir, and thankfully Hafton was there at the right time, cuts her down. Boom! Right before she could get the dagger shot in. Even though I'm just saying to myself, like, King Fahnir, you should have seen that coming. You killed your husband. You wouldn't expect her to try to kill you in retaliation. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Like the video if you can. Subscribe to my channel. Write some comments down below. Adios. This is Josh.